I'm going to tell you my review about being a vendor at the Podcast Summit in Atlanta, Georgia, 2024. I broke down crying, y'all. But before I tell you the details of how that happened, I want to tell you about why I wanted to come to the Podcast Summit. Well, first of all, I'm not a podcaster, but I did used to do this thing that would be considered like a podcast. It was when conference calls was popular. I used to do conference calls, and mine were called womb wellness calls, and I would have different guests on, and we would talk about fibroids, infertility, PCOS, endometriosis, childbirth, all about healing. And my problem was I actually was finding it difficult to find new people to interview. I didn't want to just talk by myself. I wanted to talk to other professionals so that we could offer, the information to the community. So the podcast summit was on Thursday and Friday, July 4th and 5th at the Hilton Hotel downtown. So I drove from Dallas, Texas to Atlanta, Georgia, 12 hours, really like 11 and a half, but I'll just say 12 hours to get there, right? So I make sure that I leave early. I've been driving back and forth for years because I was an Atlanta resident for over 10 years. And I'm originally from Dallas, Texas. So I wanted to come to the podcast summit because I wanted to learn and I wanted to network with entrepreneurs like myself who want to grow their brands and their businesses. So we were told to arrive on Wednesday to set up, and we're supposed to set up our things at 5:30, I believe. So now before this happened, I purchased, you had to, David Shands put out that he wanted vendors, or if you want to be vendors, fill out an application on his stories. So I immediately filled out the application. I've always wanted to just be around those people that I see on the Social Proof podcast YouTube channel. So I immediately knew that I wanted to be there. So I got the approval and I looked at the different levels. There were different levels that you can choose from for you to pay for different booths. I got the least expensive one. I don't really have a lot of stuff to cover up anything more than a 10 by 10 anyway. So my spot that I paid for was the smallest spot. And the requirement was we had to pay for at least a general admission ticket if you didn't get like the higher tiers that included like so many passes and stuff like that. I didn't like that because I was not planning on actually attending any of listen to the speakers because I knew that I was going to be working. So the requirement was that we had to pay for that. So that was another expense to pay for another ticket, whether it's VIP or general admission. So I paid for a vendor booth. I paid for general admission. So I used the coupon or promo code for both tickets. So after about 2 weeks, I got an email from the executive assistant of David Shands saying that they would not honor the discount code and that I would need to pay the remaining amount within 24 hours or I will forfeit my vendor spot. Now, I had already paid for my general admission ticket. So I didn't want to I didn't know what the terms were, if it was no refunds or whatever. I didn't want to deal with the dispute and all that stuff. And then I didn't want to say, hey, just give me my money back. And then I couldn't do it and had to do it. And then they maybe treated me a certain way, maybe didn't put me in a certain spot. So I was really salty about that. I didn't like the tone of the email. I went ahead and paid the discount that I should have gotten, because if you allow a discount code, you should just honor it. It was your tech guy, whoever who allowed that to be done. It was their mistake. So I think you as a business should eat it, because I know that's what I do. if I make a mistake and accidentally give somebody a discount, I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll just let you go. Even when they're like, no, I'll pay you the difference. Like sometimes when I'm vending, my assistants, or even sometimes I make a mistake and charge somebody the wrong price for something. And they're like, oh, well, I'll pay you. And I'm like, no, that's okay, because it was my mistake. I'll just go ahead and eat the loss. So I did not like that, for one, but I was not going to say anything until the event was over. So I got to the hotel to check in. I got there a little bit early. The front desk people were nice. I said, so the front desk person was asking me, well, where do you want to stay? He was like, you paying all this money, you better stay where you want to stay. And so I was like, okay, I want a good view. I want a nice view. And he put me in a room, got in the room, and there was no view. It was just like I was looking at the top of a building. I mean, there was no cars, no people, no streets, nothing. So I went back downstairs, and mind you, I'm toting my wagon, which has my things in it, which is pretty heavy because I'm there to set up alone. My assistant was not due to arrive the next day when the event started. So I had to do all of this prep work by myself. So I went down there to say, hey, I don't like that room. Can you put me in another room where I can see something, where I can see the streets, where I can see people walking or something? I'm already going to be staying by myself. So I need something to look at out the window. So he put me in a better room. Got in the room. So of course I've been driving all day. I want to take a hot shower, get my hygiene together, and I'm running the water. There's no hot water. So I'm like, okay, this is a big hotel. Maybe nobody's been in this room a while. It's going to take a while. Ran the hot water for several minutes in the sink and in the tub, and no hot water. So I went downstairs, told the front desk person, hey, there's no hot water, and I need to go and do some things, like get something to eat, get a few things that I needed to buy, like to do my hair. And she said, well, do you want to get another room? I said, no, this is my second room. I don't want to change rooms again. She said, well, we'll have an engineer to come into your room to fix the problem. And I was like, okay. So I go all the way across town. And mind you, this is rush hour in traffic. I'm in traffic in Atlanta. So I'm going across town. What really should have been like 10 minutes ended up being like maybe 30 minutes with all this traffic on 475 and all this stuff. So I go take care of my business. I come back, go to my room. Mind you, I'm dragging my heavy wagon with all of my stuff in it. Get to the room, and the key will not work. So I ended up calling on my phone. I was like, hey, my key is not working. And he was like asking me, what is your room number? I told him my room number. He was like, well, that's not your room number. You got to come down here and show your ID so I can tell you what your room number is. Went all the way down the elevator. Mind you, these elevators are slow. There's people everywhere. So it's just a long wait time. And me, I do not like to set up late. I like to be set up early because time is money and I want to get to sleep. I'm tired. I haven't even had any sleep. Been up for like almost 24 hours. So I went down there, and they gave me another room. The person who said she wasn't going to give me another room was not there. So they gave me another room, which was next door. So I went in the other room, and they said that security would come up to open up the other door to get my stuff out. So I started to put my things in the other room. The security guy finally comes up. I'm making this sound quickly, but it wasn't fast. All of this stuff was happening very slow. The security guy finally comes up. He opens up the door. So I start to take my stuff. He's around. So I didn't think I needed to hold the door open. So I'm getting stuff out of the old room, putting it in the new room. And I'm also turning on the hot water to make sure that this hot water works before, I tell him, I'm good. Start putting everything in the other room. This guy, the security guy, leaves. Then the rest of the stuff is still locked in the other room. And the hot water is not working in the new room. So at this time, I'm pushed to the limit. I'm just like, yo, I can't take this. So I'm trying to be calm. I got on my waist beat shirt, so it's evident, what I do a little on the back of the shirt. So I'm trying to be mindful that I'm representing my brand, and I don't want to make a scene, but the pressure is pushing me to the limit. I just can't hold it anymore. And I was like, oh my gosh, just breathe, just breathe, just breathe. So the security guy's there, and then so I'm calling downstairs, and so I'm talking to a sister, and I just broke down crying. I'm like, I am supposed to be working. She was like, do you want me to put you in another room? I'm like, no, I don't want to go into another room. This is the third room. That will be the fourth room. And I'm supposed to be working right now, not moving from room to room, carrying this heavy wagon. So I'm in tears, just, so people, whatever see me, which I don't like to be crying in public and stuff like that. But I just could not contain it anymore. I was just so frustrated. So I said, look, I want a full refund. And the lady was just talking to me like she didn't really care. The security guy, he didn't say anything, but he looked like he understood my frustration. Another guy, I guess it was a supervisor, because I was like, I need a manager, supervisor, somebody to come and to come or whatever that I can talk to. So he gave me the piece of paper that said my balance was 0. And so I get all of my stuff out. They make sure they open up the door so I can get all of my stuff out. So I'm in tears, emotional, trying to get all of my stuff out. And I proceed to go back downstairs to go and set up my stuff. Now, and this is where another issue happened with the staff of the podcast summit. So when I get there and I say, hey, I'm here to register, and it's like a teenage girl, whatever, she's like, go talk to them. I'm like, why is she working here if she don't even know how to check people in? Then I go to the next person. They're like, go talk to them. And they just kept doing it. So I go upstairs to where the vendors are to set up. There's nobody there to greet us. There's nobody to say anything, but we do have our names on the table. So it's self-explanatory. Hey, you set up right here. So I started to set up. So I ended up going downstairs, and I'm like, trying to tell them, hey, what time can I come in the morning? Because I'm like, I'm so frustrated. I don't even want to set up anymore. I just want to go find another hotel and just start my day over in the morning. Because I'm like, this is just today. It just seemed like it's not getting any better. So I end up talking to the executive assistant, telling her my frustrations. And I'm like, you were the one who sent the email, and I didn't like the tone of it. You was like, you need to do this within 24 hours. It just was not right. The way everything was going. She listened to me. She apologized, and she proceeded to help me, hey, go load here. You don't have to use the common elevator. You can use this service elevator or something like that. And then trying to get out, because you park in a garage hotel, trying to get out, the key didn't work. I had to back up, and the way the curve is made, it's like you can damage your car, then somebody's behind me. That was another frustration. The hotel was a mess. The hotel was completely horrible. I saw that they had bad reviews, but I said, hey, maybe that's, sometimes people make bad reviews and it's not accurate. So, but the hotel was horrible. Elevators were horrible. Everything horrible. So end up parking on the side as the executive assistant encouraged me to do, or suggested that I do. That's what vendors are supposed to load in. Went on the side, parked in the loading area, get in there, can't find the elevator to get up. I mean, I'm seeing all like the employee staff stuff, like the dirty sheets, the dirty dishes, the kitchen, just everything. I can't even find the elevator to get up. I'm lost. Finally found somebody, a worker, that told me how to get up on the elevator, but it wasn't even the elevator that I needed to get on. So anyway, ended up setting up, because she was saying that, well, we're gonna open the doors at 7 or whatever. And she was basically encouraging me like, hey, you might want to set up tonight, today. And so I said, okay. So I set up as much as I could. And then I called one of my regular hotels that I go to, and of course they're booked. So I'm like, oh my goodness, how am I going to find a hotel on July 4th that's not too far? I ended up finding a nice, clean Marriott about 10 minutes away. Went there. It's quiet. It's not a million people like the Hilton was. I go there and they're like, mind you, the Hilton was charging $35 to park in their garage, and it wasn't even like all that beneficial. The parking spots are really close, so it's like somebody can really scratch up your door or anything. And then it's not even that many parking spaces available. It was very difficult for me to find a parking spot. So it took me like about 20. It took me a long time to even find a parking spot. So, went to the Marriott, and the lady was like, it's $15 to park. And I was like, $15 to park? Like, this ain't, like, why y'all doing that? This ain't like it's downtown or like that. And she was like, you know what? Don't worry about it. And I was like, okay. She was real nice. So anyway, that's why I broke down crying. But I thought, okay, since we had a really rough start, this must gonna be a good event. Something good it got to happen. It can't get no worse than this. So got me some sleep, got dressed to come in the next day, and everything was fine. I networked with a lot of good people. It was so the first day I had an assistant. And so I was able to walk around and network and go into a few of the rooms and listen to a few of the speakers. But I couldn't really sit down and just like take notes. I just can't do that when I know that I have a business, a actual vendor table that I have to run. A few of the speakers that was said or advertised to be there didn't show up. I was disappointed in that, but they did have some good replacements. And some of the people I think I just probably missed, because one person, I didn't see him, but then I saw like a clip of him on Instagram that he had actually came and spoken, but I missed him. So there was a whole room full of the podcast setup. I'm not really into the podcast world, but I know like Ecamm or Ecom, something like that. They had all those different booths up. I was asked to do like interviews and stuff for a couple of different podcasts of people that I don't know, that I just met. So I was open and happy to share what I do with different people. People were telling me that they were impressed by what I do. They wanted to hear me share. It was still so busy that I didn't get a chance to interview with everybody. It was a bit hectic, but I was able to learn a lot. I was able to get motivated to share more content. I was motivated to network. And I met a podcast producer who was telling me, you need to be taking pictures with people. You need to be talking to this person, trying to get on their podcast. And me, when I was living in Atlanta, I used to see a lot of celebrities, and when I would meet them, they would kind of be a little nasty and rude, and it would just change my perception of them. So I really didn't want to go up to a lot of people and like, start talking to them and stuff. I just like to see them from a distance of, I'm like, wow, this person is shorter than I thought. This person is taller. They're darker. They're lighter than I thought. But everybody was down to earth. I didn't see like a whole pack of security with people. I saw the first speaker, Willie Moore Jr. He had security, but it wasn't like a lot of intimidating security, which that's your business. If that's what you feel that you have to do to protect yourself, it ain't nothing wrong with that. But it was like everybody was like common, everyday people. Everybody looked good. Everybody was dressed nice. So nobody stuck out to me. There were a lot of people that I was a fan of, that some of the people, my neighbors, was like, they're so-and-so, they're so-and-so. I'm like, what? I didn't even recognize them, or I didn't even see them. So I didn't even get a chance to go up to everybody and talk to them and take pictures. One person in particular I did want to talk to, but she was always surrounded by people. And I didn't have the time to just sit there and wait. And So I just missed out on that opportunity, but I learned a lot. I got the exposure that I wanted to have. I really hope that David Shands can improve his team and make sure that everybody knows exactly, like, the direction, the management, the leading skills, like everybody can just be on point. But the event, it looked nice. You can tell he spent a lot of money on the marketing materials, like the big signs and everywhere. It was really nice looking. The stages, the music, the DJ was on point. It was like really exciting the way that they had the music and they was in there dancing. I didn't know where the music was coming. I was hearing the bass and I thought it was like downstairs another event. I'm like, what is this event having all that bass? Like, it sounded like it was a club, but it was exciting. I had a good time. Maybe as a regular participant, I'm sure they have a different experience than a vendor, of course. But we as vendors, we felt like we were shorted, we were slighted, we were looked over. Somebody had suggested that maybe David Shan should have came and introduced himself to us as us being his guest. I really didn't care about that. Yeah, that would have been nice. I personally wanted to be on stage for maybe 60 seconds, or if they could have had our logos or some information about us up on the screen to promote the vendors more. Because believe it or not, I know that admission tickets pay for the speakers and the venue, the event, but the vendors also contribute to the expenses of the event. So, we should have been given shine. We should have been given light so that we could get more customers. Financially, it was not profitable. I broke even, so it was enough to pay for the tickets, the hotel, and the for my trip. I made enough money for that, but anything extra, no, I did not make. Which some people will say that's good as long as I make my money back. I never go to an event to just want to make my money back. I always want to make profit. But most importantly, I want to make those lasting connections that's going to bring the profit in the long run. So this is my review as a vendor at the Podcast Summit in Atlanta 2024. I don't give up on my people. I know this is a new event. This was the second one, and people do have time to grow and to change things. I've had events, and I've had small events with like less than 100 people, and it can get hectic, and it's definitely going to be stressful because you got people looking at you and depending on you to do a good job. So that's my review. Please leave a comment and share your suggestions. And if you went to the Podcast Summit as a vendor or just a regular participant attendee, just let me know how you feel that it went for you.